Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to TLBTV, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project and broadcast to you by our great friends at Conscious Consumer Network. Today's show is Your Health is Just the Beginning of Your Journey. On this episode of Eradicating Program Ignorance, we will be discussing your health and the myriad of influences on it. Starting before you are born and continuing throughout your life, your successes, happiness, and productivity all hinge on how serious you take your mental and physical health and the relative decisions you make to influence it. Today, we will have an in-depth discussion with an individual who has made it his crusade to not only learn the secrets of personal health, but someone who is also on a mission to educate as many as possible to this absolute reality. A special guest today is Michael Bidar. Michael is a published author, devout researcher, and an AADP member, and a certified spiritual nutrition counselor. He investigates natural healing, provides wellness support through consulting, teaching, and film, and speaks at universities, hospitals, and conferences. Welcome to the show, Michael. Let's you and I start a healthy narrative, my friend, because I understand that narrative plays a very important role in your process of education.
Well, ever since, first of all, hello, Roger, and thanks for having me here with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, ever since I was facing some of the same questions many people face, how do we live a long and fulfilling life? And at the same time, noticing our country is, as you well know, suffering from the worst health of any developed country. I couldn't understand why until I looked a little deeper. And as much as there is causes that are out there and are really keeping our potential down, there's inner processes that I discovered can help us be better health warriors, if you might, in that kind of environment. And
I like that. I like that health warriors thing. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Well, you notice I said health warriors and health lovers. And I think we'll talk about some of them.
All right.
Absolutely. Because, yeah. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, you and I have had a couple of personal discussions, and I do this with everybody I invite onto the show. I call this meet and greet, and what it allows us to do is establish a little bit of commonality, a comfort level, so that we know when we talk to each other, basically we have at least a concept of what we can expect from each other. As you and I discussed prior to the show going live today, is I'm going to provide the facts about the evil that's being perpetrated against humanity and how this is affecting our health. And you are going to be the shining star. You're going to provide the solutions. You're going to tell people there are ways around this. There are things that can be done. There is no need to bury your head in the sand. So let me start out with my portion of this, which is telling people just exactly what we're facing. You alluded to this a little bit and when you opened up your portion of the discussion, stating that we live in a society which is one of the most chronically ill on the planet. We are, in fact, the most chronically ill society on the planet. When I was born in 1954, I was born into, and I've said this on at least a half a dozen shows, TLBTV shows, I was born into what was considered the healthiest and most vibrant society on the planet. We spend 10 times more on healthcare than our closest rivaling nation in that area. And we're the most drugged, the most medicated, and the most vaccinated nation on the planet, bar none, and by a long shot. So why are we not the healthiest nation on the planet? So let's go over one quick scenario, and then I want you to tell everybody why this might not be the only reason that we are not as healthy as we should be. But let's stop and consider, when I say we're the chronically sickest nation on the planet, what I mean is we have the highest levels of cognitive dysfunction, okay? We are the nation with the highest level of Alzheimer's, the highest level of dementia, the highest level of autism, the highest level of ADHD. We have the highest levels of autoimmune dysfunction in our children, and that's something you carry through for life. We have the sickest generation of children this planet has ever seen. There are scientists screaming at the top of their lungs today that we have seen born the first generation that will not have the life expectancy their parents had. That is a milestone. That is a brain people should be going, what? What did this guy just say? But this is a fact. So what I've established is we are living in a very unhealthy environment, okay? We are eating unhealthy food, drinking unhealthy water, breathing unhealthy air, taking unhealthy medication, and all to extremes. And it's not just the United States. We're just in the crosshairs. We're at the peak. We're at the top of the hill. But every other nation on this planet suffers some of this to some degree. Now, I'm talking about everything physical. You bring a mental component into this that I've never brought into my discussions before. One of the biggest reasons for bringing you on the show today is because you discussed the mindset as well. The mindset required to get us out of this quagmire and into a scenario that allows us to, start leading ourselves down that path to a healthier life. So let's talk about your narrative. Let's talk about your mindset, because you're entering territory that I would like to become more familiar with, and I believe you're just the person who's going to help guide me down that path.
Hey, well, Roger, specifically, when I got a master's, I did a thesis, and my research was a survey where about 240 people replied. And the survey took about 45 minutes to fill out because it had 110 questions per person on it, asking not only about your health outcomes and your health status, but also about your mindset, attitudes, and personality qualities. So we were able to correlate certain personality qualities and mindsets and attitudes with the most fulfilling outcomes. And this is what we all want. And fulfillment goes deeper and deeper and deeper. There's many layers of it. So I asked about what kind of depth of fulfillment do you have? Things that can be measured in terms of physical health, but also things that go into this realm of the true priorities in our lives that usually get put in words like family, children, loyalty to your country, and God, and things that really matter to people. And some of spiritual nutrition is about bringing into those areas the connection to your health, because they're very interconnected at every stage of life, before, during, and after your life, because you do leave a legacy, and you are the effect of the people's before you's legacy. So when we expand out fulfillment, we get a more profound level of what health can really mean. And then when you get the answers to my thesis questions, which were what are those personality qualities and mindsets, usually at my talks I have people guess what mindsets and qualities were most connected to a fulfilling, healthy life. But maybe I'll just share them. That the top three, the drum roll please, the top three qualities that correlated, there you go, with this type of health fulfillment was, one was an agency, the personal agency to have experienced and know that you make a difference and impact on those around you, whether that's that you impact those at work, you impact those in your neighborhood, if you want to meet somebody and you're no longer be single, you go out, things, that kind of agency, and you know that you can make a difference, is one quality that was very important to the mindset of natural healing and preventive health as well. The second quality was actually something that's a little kind of tender for some people, but it's called emotional honesty. This is the ability to, if you're feeling a certain way, to know it. First, have a sense of awareness. You're applauding me. Before I continue with the monologue, I saw you applaud, so I want to give a chance for you to.
Well, the thing of it is, I am fully aware, okay, that being honest about the emotions you feel and having the ability to delve into something you're feeling, to define it, okay, to its root, not just, okay, I think I'm feeling anger. Okay, what's the root of that anger? What's causing me to feel this? I believe that divining these type of issues is something that allows what you use the term agency. And I love that, okay? It allows me to facilitate not only the knowledge of how I feel, but once I've determined how I feel, it's easier for me to make that better, to remedy it. Okay, because I know exactly what put me there. So by removing that stimulus, maybe I can make this situation better. So having the ability to divine exactly why I'm having the emotional feelings I'm having, to me, is paramount. It is. So that's why you saw me clapping. Please continue.
Excellent, Roger. So that was what I analyzed in my thesis as well. It was that when you can feel where you're at, you can not only choose to do something about it, which is a paramount step, but also you can visualize and feel yourself being somewhere else. But you can't really feel yourself moving to somewhere else until you feel where you are, and have that mean anything really. It's all fantasy until you feel where you are now. So that was a really important quality or mindset. And the third is open to multiple sources of information that you yourself synergize, not just one, not just this one, but that you make your own synergizing of conclusions from multiple information sources. So, yeah.
Okay, you making such brilliant points, because again, I'm a firm believer that anybody who relies on one source for everything will eventually find that he has been fooled, lied to, or has misinterpreted. Okay. Anybody with any level of intellect has to realize that multiple sources are required to, and basically weighing the information from each are required in order to come up with what we call the truth. Because the truth to you might not be the same thing as what I call the truth. Okay, it's based on experience. What have I experienced? To me, this is the truth. What have you experienced? To you, this is the truth. But if I analyze what you consider to be the truth on the facts that you base it on, and what I consider to be the truth on the facts I base it on, what I come up with, and I've used that word twice already, are the facts. And the facts can't be disputed. A fact is a fact is a fact. A truth can be relative to your experiences. And anybody who thinks that the truth is absolute, I can prove that wrong very easily. Okay, so here we go. We're talking about facts. So yes, I believe multiple sources are germane, are highly important to a healthy solution. And we've lost your picture. Anybody who didn't realize, and that's only if you were asleep during the last 5 minutes, we totally lost connection with our guest, Michael Badar, and my God, even our producer Biggie was saying that this was a show that he really, really wanted to hear, and so did I. And just real quick to segue back into you, Michael, I talk constantly, and I've written well over 100 articles, health-related articles, whether it's vaccines, GMOs, drugs, fluoride, whatever it is. And I've done a lot of shows, TV, radio shows on the subject. But the one component that I've never really plugged in at the level you can do is the mental component. And that's what we were discussing just before everything went black for you. So let's jump back over to you and let's do a little bit more discussion on this mental component and how, you know, I know that people can think themselves sick, and I know that people can help to think themselves healthy, but it's not anything we talk about enough. And I know that's not the only thing that you work with, but it's a portion of the overall scenario that most of us delve into that we don't think about enough. So I'm going to toss the football back over to you, and let's talk about that mental component a little bit more, please.
Yeah, definitely apologize to all for my disconnection there.
You didn't do it.
I know.
It happened
phone,
to you.
I bought the phone, so you know.
Okay.
As far as the mental component, you know, I mean, we're not talking mental tricks. We're not talking mental games that's going to help heal you like magic. We're talking a mindset that engenders itself to presence in the moment and lasting change in the direction you want to go. So I got a little academic with my discoveries of those 3 mindset components. And I want to add now, I'll be academic one more time, which was something that the city of Cambridge, together with MIT and Harvard, all worked together to come up with the basic building blocks of lasting change in the direction that a group of people want to go. And they're so simple, but actually they make a difference. So when you want to go somewhere, and we're talking about health, which is my subject of writing, 4 components that they discovered are essential to go in the direction you want. One is actually have and name your goal concisely and clearly. Okay. 2 is actually commit yourself to it. That means committing your mindset, your mind, your heart, and your resources to it. The 3rd one is actually called where the location is where your practices toward that goal will occur, because they don't happen anywhere if they don't happen somewhere. So in the case of health, that's having identified the physical places, be it your exercise area, your kitchen, your farmer's market, the grocery store, and the refrigerator, where those changes are going to happen and what's going to happen there. And it also refers to inside your body. These are physical places too. If there's inflammation you want to reduce, if there's nutrient deficiency you want to re-nourish, if there's function in your body that you want to change, they actually happen somewhere. So that's having the mindset that's aware of where in your body you are basically targeting your dietary and lifestyle changes to occur. For a lot of people, that's the digestive system, the liver, the pancreas, the heart, and the bloodstream. So actually having the outer and inner places is an important component to the mindset of change, lasting change. And finally, the 4th is arranging life's circumstances in support of the healthy changes that you want, that you named as your goal. So in support usually means people around you, time, and money. That you have the people around you as a circumstance that you have some control over. That means they support you. They are going in the same direction as you. They are not working against you, either in mocking you, minimizing you. Rather, they are supporting and encouraging you. In terms of time, the practices that you want to devote to your goal only happen if they happen in a time. They're going to happen at a time. So you have to plan in your time when that's going to happen. And thirdly is money, and that's different for everybody, but it's arranging your budget where you can actually achieve what you've set out to do. So those are 4 steps. Yeah.
If I wanted to quit smoking, okay, which is something I'm actually going through right now. You and I have already discussed this, okay? And it's not the first time that I've quit smoking, but hopefully this is going to be the last time I quit smoking. So I need to focus on where this is going to take place, okay? Where it's not going to take place is I'm not going to walk into a store and I'm not going to buy a pack of cigarettes. So there's the money, there's the place. Where's it going to take place internally? It's going to take place in my lungs, okay? I'm going to be able to, excuse me, after I get rid of all of this crap in my lungs, which the lungs do for a couple months after you quit smoking, then I'm going to be able to breathe easier. I'm going to live a healthier life. I'm not going to have as many toxins in my blood. So the internal place is in my lungs. The money situation is going to be, I'm going to have more money to dedicate to other things because smoking is a very expensive habit nowadays, especially if you smoke a name brand, which is like $8 or $9 a pack of cigarettes. And if you're smoking a pack a day, well, people, do the math. Okay, some people are paying more for cigarettes each month than they are in their car payment. All right, stop and think about that. So all of these things put together, along with the mindset that it required for me to say, I've had enough. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to die early. I don't want to leave my grandchildren without a grandfather, so on and so forth. So all of these things you're telling me work together in conjunction in that scenario that allows me to set up the narrative for my path towards a healthier life. Now, I see you shaking your head, so pretty much I've hit that on target. What I'd like you to do for at least the next couple of minutes is let's talk about your book. I was so fascinated by the artist who made the painting that you used for your book that I had to cut your book in half, the front and the back, and put them right into the article that's both on Conscious Consumer Network and the Liberty Beacon promoting this show. And we'll go up again once the show is archived. We'll put that article out again with the actual YouTube video inserted into it. So let's talk about your book, starting with the name of the book. But this is a question everybody always has to answer when you're an author. Why? Michael, why? Why did you sit down to write a book? You're already doing the research. You're already doing the consultation. You're already doing, there had to be a reason. There had to be a motivation for you to sit down and write a book. Let's go through, what's the title? Why did you pick it? Why was that picture so germane, that painting, to your book? And what caused you to write this book? Because the whole thing that attracted me to you was, well, actually two things. One, the mental component you discussed, and two, your book really caught my eye.
Well, I'm glad.
Oh, and tell them where they can get it too.
Okay. Thank you. Gladly. I wanted to give people the power to see their own narrative in a more productive way when it comes to their health. And I know that our brains work. We have learned through story through the entirety of human history. Whether you're talking about the Greek comedies, tragedies, whether you're talking about Around the Fire, whether you're talking about the epics of history and sacred writings, they're told in stories and parables because we interpret and internalize meaning through story and narrative. And it even comes out, there's an author named Carl Greer whose book is called Change Your Story, Change Your Life. And my book is called Sweet Healing, A Whole Health Journey. And I named it Sweet Healing because, you know, we have the double meaning of sweet is kind of the downfall of us in a way, because we're replacing the sweetness of the things that really, really we want, the desires for intact families and a functioning country and the true feeling at home and safe, and that's all sweet, but we're replacing that with junk food because it gives us a momentary sweet high. But the real sweetness is in being aligned with nature the way we were meant to eat and live, so that sweetness returns through a lifestyle, better living through better living, as Dr. Cousins says.
You talk about fructose, you talk about glucose, you talk about the fact that sugar is in fact a poison, okay, and looked on many people as a poison. But we have gone one step further than that, okay? We've replaced sugar with things like saccharin, with things like aspartame, which we know are carcinogenic, which we know are doing severe harm to our body. So is that the other side of this sweet? Is that the dangerous side of this sweet?
Well, let me repeat that the actual sweetness that I've seen, I have literally cried hundreds of times from the sweetness of healing and getting back in alignment and harmony with nature in our bodies. When people heal through all natural, whole, raw, organic food. Now, we're facing, yes, just like you said, on the external side, we're facing not only an onslaught of a sugar industry that is government subsidized, but we're facing the better living through chemistry aspect, which is all these artificial sweeteners, just to continue to further hook us further and further away from the grounded sweetness of living the natural way into this momentary, somehow popularized sweetness that comes from these brands. But there's a sweetness in preventing your disease and raising a healthy family and healing yourself that is incomparable. It's like the sweetness of a mountain compared to the sweetness of a molehill. And we can really walk that mountain, or we can settle for the hill. So
I would say that, you constantly talk about a narrative, okay? Or at least I'm constantly bringing it up because that's something that really, really sticks out in my mind about what you discuss. You talk about the narrative and you talk about...
We're about to get there. We're about to get me talk about the narrative.
Okay, but you're talking about this scenario takes place before you're born, in what your mother does, what your mother might be exposed to, actually what your father might be exposed to. How healthy is his sperm, okay? How healthy is the mother's ovum, so on and so forth. What medical procedures does she receive while you're a fetus? So on. But it also carries on after you depart, because the memories of you, whether you caused stress, whether you caused love, whether you caused passion, what you leave behind also affects the narrative of those you leave behind. So that narrative goes from before you're born till after you're dead. Would you get into that a little bit? Because you did something nobody else has ever done. When I look at this quote unquote narrative, and that is you have taken it outside of the parameters of what I can remember. Because I can't remember after I'm dead, or at least I don't know if I can. And I definitely can't remember before I'm born. Okay? So you've expanded that narrative. Go that way a little bit, please.
Okay, definitely, Roger. And what you said are facts. Before you're born, your mother's and father's genitalia and their health and those cells will impact your health. And after you die, of course, we leave a legacy. But this life is a gift. This lifetime is a chance to live your narrative to the most full, you might say heroic, but at least responsible way that you can, knowing that your narrative impacts the rest of humanity, particularly in the people you care about the most. So whether you come from an absolutely tragic narrative, which many people do, for which we should all have no judgment, but actually respect that every step you go from the most dark narratives you can imagine to being alive today, you're alive today. And today is the chance to have a narrative that empowers you. And just by empowering you, you can empower others. So lots of respect for no matter what narrative you come from. And if you come from like some sort of narrative we all look up to, that's great and be happy about that. But you also have a responsibility with the rest of your days to help share that, teach that, and continue to be responsible with that. So scientifically, the car just went by, excuse me.
Well, that's all right.
We absolutely begin in a womb that is already impacted by her life, by your mother's lifestyle and her diet. And the fact is, I know a OBGYN who says they can tell the nutritional level of the mother by the fragility or solidity of the fetus, and not the fetus, excuse me, the placenta. When that placenta and all of that environment that the baby's growing in, when it's strong and it's carrying things well, that mother, time and time again, was a healthy mother. But when it's kind of breaking apart as the baby's born, that mother was not taking care of herself. So these are things you can actually see.
Well, another thing that most people don't seem to understand, and please let me butt in here, and I apologize, my friend, but what most people don't understand, but is a scientifically proven fact, is that placenta is the best way of detoxing a woman's body there is. If the mother's body is full of things like glyphosate and lead and mercury and aluminum, getting pregnant is the best way for that woman to collate all of these poisons from her body. And that's exactly what that placenta does. So if the mother is extremely toxic, all of these toxins will be drawn from her body into the placenta, and these will be exposing that fetus to these combined toxins. So how your mother has lived will definitely affect how you will be born. Will you be born a sickly child? Will you have some autoimmune deficiencies or dysfunctions, so on and so forth? Because what you have done through the process of being a fetus in your mother's body is chelate those toxins from her body. So what you said is so apropos, and it is a scientifically proven fact.
Yes. Now, in Sweet Healing, my book, my narrative story that people can read, I named the two of the main characters Jean and Hope. And if you listen to those names, and once you hear the last name, it's even cooler. But Jean and Hope represent that when there's toxins and there's nutritional deficiency and there's a high level of stress that never gets awakened and processed, those three things, deficiency, toxicity, and stress, will switch off essential genes. These are genes that make proteins, genes that make enzymes, genes that make antioxidants, genes that make neurotransmitters, anti-cancer genes, anti-aging genes. They can get, unfortunately, they can get switched off, and they need to get switched back on to, we all have a wonderful gift of genomes in our life. Like we're all alive because of our genome. But sometimes you call them like a curse. Oh, you're stuck with your genome too. You are pretty much stuck with your genome, but you can turn a lot of things that are switched off on about your own genome. It's very interesting. It's called epigenetics, and it has a big part of living to our full potential, down to the very, scientists. I went to a university where actually Francis Crick was still doing research, the guy who discovered DNA, along with James Watson. They don't exactly know what a gene is to this day. They know very approximately where a gene ends and all the RNA and replicating factors begin, but they don't know exactly where it ends. What a gene is a soup of factors in the cell affected by those three things: nutrition, toxicity, and stress. And how those genes express into creating a phenotype is really part of your narrative. When you're feeling on top of the world, probably your genes are really loving that and expressing more and more positive expression. Excuse me for some water.
That's okay. Not only do I understand that, but I do also understand that and this was, I believe, and I cannot remember the name of the study, but there was a study done between two groups of people. One group of individuals who had very little stress, okay, and lived in not only a stress-free environment, but an environment that was very nurturing to them, as compared to another group of individuals who lived in a very stressful environment where they had money problems, they had physical problems, and they had constant stress. And the difference between them, not only mentally, but physically as well, was absolutely amazing. So stress does play a huge part in the health of our bodies. And yes, I do believe that, if I go a whole week where nothing is going wrong and I've been happy and, I just get up every morning and I go, woohoo, isn't life great? That my body is feeling that and reacting to that. Am I
Yeah.
Is this what you're saying? Am I getting this right, Michael?
Yes, you are. And just absolutely. And to add to that, the people we're with can feel it, and you can feel other people. We have mirror neurons that are the mirrors for other people. And when you know that they're important to you and they know you're important to them, you both want to live for each other. And that's why healing is really a group activity. And that's where the narrative comes in. People you love, people you want to support, you heal together. Give me a second here.
Well, I do understand when you say people want to heal together. Again, I do look at somebody who convalesces by themselves as compared to somebody who convalesces in a home with loving children, loving grandchildren, a loving spouse, so on and so forth, that there is a major difference in the scenario, not only in how effective treatment can be, but how the duration of treatment required to overcome specific scenarios. So, and for anybody who's wondering where Michael went, Michael is having a bit of an issue with getting his image out, and we're just trying to make sure that we don't lose you again. So you're back. Did you hear what I was saying while you were traversing the room?
I did. And I want to go into how, see, all the scenes in Sweet Healing were written in group eating activities. Well, all the eating scenes, I mean.
Okay, so every place there's consumption of food or consumption of drink, it's a group setting.
Yeah, either somebody was eating with somebody else or somebody prepared it for somebody else. Because I wanted to emphasize that going into a diet that's going to be really organic and clean for you is not a solitary activity. It requires the help of people around you. And it's really hard if you don't know anyone else who's trying to go the same route you were going. So as the narrative, Sweet Healing shows that it's the emotions that you really want to share with somebody. And when you break bread with them or you break salad with them, as it may be, you're sharing what really matters to both of you.
Positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I myself, at the moment, am not a perfect specimen of health because I'm experiencing I'm in a new state on this book tour right now, and the grasses in this state are quite stressful for my body. So I am struggling a little bit with the air around here.
Allergies?
So, indeed, yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
I've been having some thistle, which has been helping, and nettles tea, and but it's not entirely sufficient right now. So give me a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. And you know, we're talking about health issues here, okay? We're talking about health issues, and we're talking about things that affect all of our lives. But I still want to plug something into this scenario that we haven't gotten to yet, and we're probably down to about 10 or 12 minutes left in the show. You made a big deal about the painting that appears on the cover of your book. This could be absolutely nothing. You could say, hey, Roger, I just like the way it looked. But is there something a little bit deeper in the reason you picked that painting for the cover of your book? Because I find it very fascinating.
Well, the painter Leonid Afremov, I just found his work online, and I fell in love with it. I just thought the way he connected place and color and people all in his paintings was extraordinary. And I wanted my book to speak of all three of those things: nature, place, and people. Because like I said, as it's been proven, our natural health happens somewhere, and it happens together, and it happens in harmony with nature. So when the painting showed that very well, you know, I wanted to go with that. And speaking of nature and the colors that he uses, the diet that I've been studying the most is called the rainbow green cuisine. And what this diet suggests is that in every color is a whole family of phytonutrients, minerals,
Yes.
and vitamins.
Yes. Agreed.
So if you're only eating gray, brown, white, and even just green, you're not getting the full spectrum of minerals and vitamins and phytonutrients. So the painting being so vibrant in all the colors just happened to extra vividly convey subtly the diet that people maybe just, I call myself the health whisperer a little bit, because I don't think people understand.
I like that. Well, nobody picks a painting or a particular picture for a book that represents so much of what they believe or so much of what they've invested a big chunk of their life in, unless it has a special meaning. And I wasn't going to let you off the show today until you told me why you picked that picture, because there had to be that special reason. And I can see how you've tied it all together. And I can see that by looking. And for anybody who doesn't know, please go again to Conscious Consumer Network or to the Liberty Beacon website and take a look at the article that accompanies this show, and you will see the cover to his book. But better yet, I would strongly recommend you go take a look at his book personally. And before we run out of time, and we'll try and do this again before the end of the show, please tell people again the name of the book and where they can get it and your website.
Sweet Healing, a Whole Health Journey. Sweet Healing, a Whole Health Journey. Because it's in the journey. It's not only in the destination. Here we are, when you're emotionally honest with yourself and you're proactive, you are beginning, if not already on, your health journey. And it's a climb to the top of a glorious mountain to heal yourself naturally. The things I've seen with people blows the mind away. So you can get my book, Sweet Healing, at readsweethealing.com. That's the website. It leads you right to getting it in multiple formats of reading. readsweethealing.com.
All right. Well, we've got a few minutes left. Give us a wrap up on the one thing that you haven't told us yet, okay? And although I did ask, we've covered so many things, and we've gone into depth on a few things, but there had to be a reason why you sat down to write this book. And the one thing that I see that you haven't mentioned, okay, is that you indicate on the cover of that book that this is the first book. That tells me that there's another one coming behind it. So tell us why you wrote this one, and what do you perceive in your mind as the second chapter, or as the second, I don't know, the second play in the entire scenario?
Well, I wanted to bring the quality of narrative and allegory to all the facts that are starting to get known more and more in our information-rich environment. They're a little too much for people to just digest fact by fact. But when they're wrapped into a story from grandparent to grandchild, you get a digestible, understandable, and inspiring dose of what it's actually like to achieve health and have it be sustained. So I named it, of course it's named Sweet Healing, A Whole Health Journey, Book 1, because as the children grow up, they're going to be the makings of Book 2, remembering what their parents taught them, being thankful, and yet also a little bit taking it on for their own.
I need to interject something here, because again, you make such sterling points that you absolutely, I'm sitting here going, ooh, I want to say something. All right. You're talking about wrapping everything up in a story. Okay. When I was 2 or 3 years old, I can remember, and I have 5 brothers and a sister. I can remember sitting in multiple bunk beds in the room, and my mother would sit in a localized chair, and we would all basically be wrapped around her, and she would read us stories, whether it was Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, whether it was Cinderella, whatever it was. We remembered those stories. Today I'm 61 years old, and I remember that the big bad wolf was bad because he did certain things. Okay. And I remember that Little Red Riding Hood was scared because she had done certain things. So I learned life's lessons in the scenario of a story that I heard 59 years ago. And that's just as vivid. And the lessons are just as vivid to me today as they were then. So by wrapping your information in a story, okay, that people can read and be entertained by, are you feeling that you're leaving a much stronger imprint of knowledge that will last longer and will impress them more than basically giving them a couple of sheets full of facts and saying, run with it?
Yes, I certainly hope so. I mean, the readers seem to say so. The facts are super paramount of importance. I'm a big fan of facts. And I wouldn't have written this if I weren't basing it in nutrition and holistic health facts. And there's no sense in writing the story. But there's also, no sense in just being a head filled with facts without your gut and your heart and your passion interested. And the first stage of reaching a goal is naming the goal and committing to it. And if people can move ahead in that goal, and you love these characters, and you see what they eat, how they, what it means to them to make a food change, what it means to them, how it feels in their mind and thoughts and body when they begin to move their body and exercise, what it's like when they quiet their mind and let the patterns that used to drive their consumption and lifestyle patterns just have a little bit of space in their mind for a new idea to come in that connects them back to nature the way their ancestors lived. Like, if you can follow that in a story of fiction, you can, and it's based in nutritional reality and health reality, you can apply that to your life. And I want to inspire people.
Well, I've already determined that you want to inspire people. I know that. I've had several conversations with you, and these have been great conversations. You're a good conversationalist. You're a good writer, and obviously you're a very good researcher, because I'm the type of person, the first thing I look for is holes in your story. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. That's the first thing I look for. Why do I look for that? We talk about mindsets here. First, the reason I look for that before anything else is because we are being lied to so much today. Glyphosate is not bad for you, but yet the WHO says it's a class 2 carcinogen. Okay, too many vaccines are not going to harm you. Mercury in your body doesn't cause autism. We are being lied to over and over and over again. We pride ourselves on this show on having people on this show who we know have the best interest of humanity at heart. So having you here is a pleasure, because we already know you passed that litmus test. You are an individual who wishes to leave a legacy of having helped, and we appreciate you. You got like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Give us a wrap up, please, Michael.
Well, I'll certainly tell you that book 2 and book 3, about when these children who are young, very young in this story, in book 1, grow up, they're going to be exploring what I've seen in my life as well. People who raise their children and really question vaccines and question the vaccine schedule and question the GMOs in food. That's all going to be in not only this book, but the series follow-ups that really look towards maintaining healthy childhood and healthy young adulthood. In Sweet Healing, I target the people who are at the age of on the brink of retirement. They're watching. And they're wanting anything that'll help them come back. Yeah, exactly. That they're wanting anything that's going to help them come back to the energy levels they're comfortable with.
You're talking baby boomers, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations. Yeah, good on you. Yeah, I mean, it's not autobiographical, but it's based on hundreds of people composited together that have common human needs and wants, and rainbow cuisine. And holistic, mind and body exercise, and protecting yourself in hygiene from toxins and chemicals. These are going to work universally for people. And when you get it through entertaining story value, I think there's 100-fold increase in application of those ideas into your life.
Well, not only do I agree with you, but we come to the part of the show which I absolutely hate, and that's called the end of the show. Let me tell anybody who doesn't remember, please go to Conscious Consumer Network and look at the article. The name of the article for today's show is Your Health is Just the Beginning of the Journey. And our guest today was or is Michael Bidar. And Michael, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I want to thank you very much for being here. We will talk again in the future. We will more than likely do another show again in the future. And for everybody who was listening, once again, this is TLBTV, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project and broadcast by our great friends at Conscious Consumer Network. Please remember to go to Conscious Consumer Network, donate, do everything you can do to help them. If it wasn't for CCN, we couldn't get this word out. They are supported by people like you and me. Let's keep them on the air. They do phenomenal things for all of us, and they do it behind the scenes. So it's up to people like me to make sure you understand the great things CCN is doing. I want to thank everybody for being here, and we wish you all a very good night. And thank you, Michael.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.